Strong brand relationships are built on thoughtful communication. That means knowing your audience, what they're interested in hearing about, when they want to hear it, and how often they expect to hear from you. That last bit is called send frequency, the number of messages a brand sends to a given user within a given period of time. Nobody likes to be blasted with messages, and nobody likes to be ignored, so knowing what the optimal send frequency is for your users is a powerful way to engage and convert them while being considerate of their time and attention. Send frequency is pretty important. Getting it right can drive app opens, revenue, and conversions, but it can be hard to know where to start. So let's go over an example of how to calculate it, and then we can run through a few Braze analyses that will give you industry benchmarks to work with. To calculate frequency, you'll first want to partition your data by a few dimensions: the date granularity of your choosing, user ID or email address, and a roll-up of high-level metrics like deliveries and opens. That will produce a table like this one. Using this kind of data, we can identify what messaging volume a given user tended to receive within a given period of time and how it affected engagement rates. When we roll up this data set, it looks like there are 6 occasions where a user received 1 email per day, and out of those users there were 5 email open events. That gives us an 83% open rate for users that received 1 email per day. There were only 2 occasions where a user received 2 emails per day, and 2 open events corresponding to that group of users. That gives us a 50% open rate for users that received 2 emails per day, and so on. With a larger dataset, you'll be able to perform a much richer analysis. So what do you do once you have all this data of your own? Well, you'll probably need benchmarks to compare against. Luckily, we've done a bit of that work for you by compiling some industry metrics that you can use as a baseline for determining where you fall relative to industry standards. Let's take a look at a few and talk about how we've calculated them. We've chosen some industries to look at that are particularly relevant right now: delivery services, restaurants, and finance. It's critical that these brands communicate to their users in the right ways, times, and frequencies. We've found that the average delivery app sends around 2 push per month, with an optimal frequency of up to 4. That means most delivery brands are right on target, and that the smart move for them is to focus on retaining the new users that have been flocking in droves to their apps in recent months. The new user base for delivery service apps nearly doubled this quarter, rising by 78%. Retaining these new users is going to be key, so consider using these frequency benchmarks to give away the occasional promotion or local delivery recommendation. On the restaurant front, our research shows that restaurants message their users fairly infrequently. Over 70% of restaurant and QSR brands send no more than 1 push per month, and 90% send 1 or fewer emails. The key consideration for these brands might not be frequency, but simply hitting users' devices at the right times. Reaching out when people are thinking about lunch or dinner can be an effective way to drive purchases. This data also shows that in order to optimize for all 3 of app opens, email opens, and conversions, you might want to use a wider variety of channels to reinforce your message. For example, past Braze research has shown that when you send an email in concert with a complementary pull channel, like in-app message, user engagement increases by 185%. Now, finance. For finance brands, timely information is key. Think fraud or low balance alerts, interest rate updates, loan payment scheduling, etc. These types of messages only work if they're extremely relevant, so finance brands should reach out only when necessary. You can see that approach reflected in the optimal push frequency of just 1 push per month. It also seems that the preferred channel is email, and that conversion rates are optimized when combining channels. For example, alerting users to relevant information, like credit card options, while users are already in the app using in-app message, is a much better strategy than sending them a bunch of push notifications about it. It's more important than ever to be considerate with these users. Right now, finance brands are seeing 2 times the sum of new users joining each month compared to this time last year. Don't scare them away by reaching out in the wrong ways. And finally, keep in mind that you are not an industry. That means you can't treat industry benchmarks like these as law. You'll want to perform your own analyses in order to accurately gauge user preferences. Assume that your users are always changing, because they are. They're just people after all. And that's all for now, folks. I hope you learned a little something today about send frequency. See you next time.